A falling camera killed me in my first life. In my second, 3,012 students cheered when the Academy sentenced me to carry one. The applause rolled across Northgate Arena like thunder. I stood alone on the judgment platform with a split lip, an empty sword belt, and memories that belonged to a dead boy named Nico. That was also my name now. 3 minutes earlier, I had opened my eyes with memories of 2 deaths. A delivery drone had dropped a camera on the old me. Jace had punched this body's owner after Nico saw him push a forbidden red ampule into his combat glove. Then Jace had blamed him for breaking the ranking crystal. Now Jace stood beside the judges in polished silver armor. His golden hair looked perfect. His smile looked even more expensive. Holt, the head of the tournament office, raised one hand. The crowd became quiet. Nico entered a restricted control room and damaged the ranking crystal, he announced. He then accused our champion to hide his crime. Northgate Academy cannot tolerate such conduct. The giant crystal behind him showed my new rank, 3012, last place. Someone in the upper seats shouted, "At least he won something." The laughter was immediate. The crack in the crystal matched Jace's fist, and red liquid still stained his glove. Holt could see both. But Jace was ranked 8th, and his victory could bring Northgate 5,000 gold. I was a scholarship student with 6 copper and no family. The calculation was simple. Holt pointed at me. "Your combat privileges are revoked. Your scholarship is suspended for 1 month. You will serve as the school chronicler and photograph tournament events. Refusal means expulsion." Another wave of laughter moved through the arena. Jace leaned toward the speaking crystal. "Try not to break the camera too, Nico. It may be the only thing at Northgate weaker than you." The crowd liked that line. Jace spread his arms and accepted the applause as if he had personally invented humor. I did not argue. A man with 6 copper coins should not fight 3,000 people using his mouth. I looked at Holt instead. "Where is the equipment?" He had expected tears. A bully feels cheated when his victim checks the price and walks away. "The rejected relic store," Holt said. "You may choose 1 support item." Then the sentence is clear. I stepped off the platform. Only one person in the front rows had not laughed. She wore the gray coat of the student newspaper. A small speaking crystal hung at her throat, and a pencil was tucked behind one ear. Her dark eyes followed me all the way to the tunnel. I remembered her name from Nico's memories, Tessa. The rejected relic store smelled of dust and old metal. The storekeeper offered me a compass that pointed toward the nearest toilet, a badly singing kettle, and a black camera with a cracked lens. "The compass is reliable," the storekeeper said. "The camera." He blinked. "You should hear the kettle before deciding." "I already died because of a camera. I respect a weapon with a confirmed kill." A laugh came from the doorway. Tessa stood there beside Luma, the Visual Arts Club's popular model. Luma's face sold uniforms, mana drinks, and soap that cost more than my weekly food. The storekeeper shrugged and handed me the camera. The instant my fingers touched the black metal, a cold voice spoke inside my head. My class had awakened as moment catcher. The camera could turn one attack fully visible in its frame into a single charged photograph. The path ahead carried 2 more names, Copy Mage and Keeper of Images. That was all. 1 cheat. 1 broken rule. Magic belonged to its creator's soul. A fire mage could never give a spell to a swordsman. My trash camera could put that law on paper. I checked the case. It contained 3 blank crystal plates. A faded label said each replacement cost 5 silver. I owned 6 copper. 100 copper made 1 silver. Even miracles had supply costs. Tessa came closer. "The lens is cracked." "Then it has 2 shutters." Luma covered a smile with one hand. Tessa did not smile. She watched my face. "Jace broke the crystal. Why did you not argue?" I tightened the leather strap around my wrist. "Everyone important already knew. I need evidence, not volume." That was when Tessa first looked at me as if I were more than the boy at the bottom of the board. Luma tapped the camera case. "Can it take ordinary photographs? My club lost its assistant this morning. We have a fire spell demonstration in the East Courtyard. I can pay 8 silver for 1 usable image." 8 silver was more than 1,000 times my current wealth. I accept. In the east courtyard, Luma posed while a fire mage prepared a ribbon of flame behind her. Tessa stayed close with her speaking crystal. I loaded one crystal plate. The fire mage released his spell. A narrow ribbon of orange flame curled behind Luma. The camera remained silent. It was decorative magic, not an attack. Then a reflector cloth tore free from its stand. The metal frame struck the mage across the elbow. His hand snapped sideways. The ribbon compressed into a bright spear and flew toward a young club assistant carrying paint jars. People screamed. The assistant froze. I raised the camera, moved until the whole attack fit inside the frame, and pressed the shutter. The courtyard went white. The fire vanished, not weakened. Gone. A warm photograph slid from the camera, showing the spear against black paper. Fire needle. Power 240. One release. For 3 breaths, nobody spoke. Then the paint jars hit the ground. The assistant sat among spilled paint. The mage stared at his empty hand. Luma walked toward me. "Did you erase his spell?" she asked. "No, I moved it." I held up the photograph. The mage shook his head. "He has no fire affinity." "The camera does," I said. Luma pointed at a stone target at the far end of the courtyard. "Can you release it?" I placed the photograph against the camera. A slot drew it inside. I centered a stone target and pressed the shutter. The fire needle burst from the lens. It struck the stone target and drilled through its center. The measuring crystal flashed once. 240, exactly the original power. The charged photograph slid out again. It had turned gray. A second later, it crumbled into warm ash. One use meant one use. The fire mage found his exact rotation pattern in the smoking hole. 30 club members had seen it, and Tessa had recorded it. My first victory had witnesses. It also had a cost. One of my 3 free plates was gone, and Fire Needle could never be captured again. When I aimed the camera at the mage as he prepared the same spell, the shutter locked. A red line crossed the image. The camera remembered every ability, even after use. No farming. Every shot had to matter. Luma paid me 8 silver. I used 5 immediately to buy 1 replacement plate from the storekeeper. My wealth rose from 6 copper to 3 silver and 6 copper, but my usable supply returned to 3. Strength, resources, and proof. Those were the numbers that mattered. Tessa lowered her speaking crystal. "If Holt sees this, he will take the camera. Then he should see it in front of too many witnesses." Luma looked toward the arena doors. "The support relic calibration begins in 1 hour. Every club is required to attend." I put the camera back in its case. Good. By the time we returned, the Fire Needle recording had 400 views. The support relics lined the arena floor, including 1 chair that ran away whenever anyone tried to sit on it. I stood at the end with my camera. The audience pointed at me. The laughter was weaker this time. Rumors had reached them before I did. Holt sat in the judges' section. Jace stood beside him in full armor. When Tessa and Luma took places near the front, Holt's eyes narrowed. "Nico," he called, "we heard an unusual claim about your assigned relic." "You heard correctly. Then demonstrate it." "I need an attack." Jace stepped over the rail before Holt could select anyone else. "I will help." Holt hesitated, but 3,000 students were watching. "Use a controlled strike," Holt ordered. Jace drew his silver practice sword. "Of course." He walked to a position 15 steps from me. The measuring crystal beside the platform lit up. "I will use Lion Flash," he announced. "Power 310. Even a support barrier can survive it. If Nico fails, the arena shield will protect him." The arena shield behind me was not active. Tessa saw the dark crystal and stood up. Luma grabbed the rail. A few nearby teachers noticed too, but Jace had already moved. Golden light covered his blade. He swung with both hands. The Lion Flash came at me like a glowing door thrown by a giant. I raised the camera. Jace had made the attack broad to frighten me. That made it easy to frame. I pressed the shutter. White light filled the arena. The Lion Flash disappeared 1 handspan from my face. The sound of 3,000 people becoming silent at once was more satisfying than applause. A photograph slid from the camera. Lion Flash. Power 310. One release. The measuring crystal confirmed the number. Jace's mouth opened. Nothing useful came out. I loaded the photograph. Holt rose from his seat. The demonstration is complete. Not yet, I said. We tested capture. We should test release. The audience woke up. Students stamped their feet. Tessa raised her speaking crystal, showing the inactive shield. If Holt protected Jace now, everyone would ask why he had not protected me. Defend, Holt said through clenched teeth. Jace lifted his sword. Golden light gathered into his academy barrier. The measuring crystal marked its strength at 280. That was 30 below the attack stored in my camera. Every student who could subtract knew it. Jace's confidence collapsed faster than a wet chair. Nico, he said quietly, aim at the target. You selected yourself as the target. I centered his barrier in the frame and pressed the shutter. The lion flash returned. It broke the golden shield and threw Jace backward. He passed through a paper advertising wall printed with Luma's smiling face. His head tore through the exact center of the poster. For one perfect second, the Academy saw Luma's elegant body with Jace's shocked face. Then the wall fell on him. The crowd exploded. Students jumped onto benches. Luma told Tessa to make sure the recording used a wide angle. The ranking crystal flashed above the arena. My name returned to the board. It rose past 3,000. Then past 2,000. It stopped at 1,208. One captured attack had moved me 1,804 places. Jace crawled out from under the paper wall. He was not badly injured. His pride required immediate healing. Holt struck the judge's table with his palm. This relic is unverified. The ranking adjustment is temporary. The crystal verified both attacks, Tessa called from the front row. Hundreds of students repeated her words. The crystal still displayed 310. Holt could argue with me. Arguing with a public number was harder. The chief support judge inspected the camera and the broken barrier. The demonstration is valid, she declared. Nico prevented an uncontrolled strike and completed the assigned test. The tournament office owes him the standard discovery reward of 40 silver. The Visual Arts Club owes 8 for commissioned work. Luma raised her receipt. Already paid. The judge nodded. Then 40 silver remains. Holt had to hand me the money in front of everyone. He counted 4 stacks of 10 silver onto my palm. The support judge added 5 for saving the assistant. By sunset, I had 48 silver and 6 copper. I had started with no combat class, 6 copper, and last place. I ended as a moment catcher with verified power of 310, 48 silver, and rank 1,208. The Academy message crystals replayed Jace passing through Luma's poster more than 6,000 times. That number did not increase my strength, but it warmed my heart. Holt left without speaking to me. Jace followed him, holding half a paper smile over his face. Their defeat had been public, so was their anger. Tessa found me outside the arena after dark. I was calculating how many plates I could buy without returning to starvation. You skipped lunch, she said. Lunch costs 3 silver. You now have 48. That is 16 lunches or 9 plates. The plates can earn more lunches. She stared at me for a moment. You think like a hungry accountant. Come with me. The newspaper room above the kitchen was warm. Rain tapped the windows, and mushroom soup waited on the stove. Tessa filled 2 bowls. The soup was thick with cream, brown mushrooms, soft onions, and small pieces of roasted chicken. She cut a round loaf of bread. Steam escaped from the middle. The crust cracked when I tore it, and melted butter ran into the soft white center. I had eaten worse meals in both lives. Tessa pushed the plate of chicken toward me. The skin was crisp and covered in honey and pepper. The meat underneath came away from the bone with almost no effort. The club has a meal budget, she said before I could object. You are the subject of tomorrow's lead report. Feeding you protects our investment. That sounds believable. It should. I practiced it while you were counting bread. Luma arrived 10 minutes later with 3 printed copies of the promotional photograph. She placed one on the table, took a piece of chicken, and remained standing. My club wants you for tomorrow's beast exhibition, she said. The pay is 1 gold and 50 silver if you photograph the 4 approved monsters. 150 silver. I swallowed before answering. I will be there. Good. Try not to put Jace's face on my body again. My sponsors are confused. She left with 2 pieces of bread. Luma treated every conversation like a business meeting with better lighting. Tessa watched the rain. Holt will not stop. Northgate receives 5,000 gold if Jace reaches the Royal Tournament. Today you made both of them look weak. Then tomorrow they will spend something to correct the image. What will you spend? I touched the camera beside my chair. 5 silver per attempt. She smiled then. It was small, but real. Before leaving, Luma had set a delayed plate on the shelf to take an ordinary group photograph. The shutter clicked while Tessa and I were looking toward the window. The plate developed as we finished the soup. Tessa picked it up first. Her smile disappeared. There were 3 people in the photograph. I sat on the left with bread in one hand. Tessa sat across from me. Between us stood a pale girl in an old Northgate uniform. Her long hair was wet although she had been inside. One hand rested on the back of my chair. Her face was turned directly toward the camera. I looked at the empty space beside me. Was Luma wearing an old uniform? I asked. Tessa shook her head. Did anyone enter after her? No. The photograph trembled between her fingers. Silver writing appeared under the unknown girl's shoes. Her name was Era. Then Tessa blinked and asked why we were staring at an empty chair. The girl in the photograph remembered me the next morning. Tessa did not remember the girl at all. She did remember that something had frightened her. Her notes said Era 7 times. The same name was written across the back of her left hand. I wrote this, she said. I recognize the ink. I do not recognize the name. I placed the photograph on the breakfast table. Era still stood between us. In daylight, I could see silver thread on her old uniform and a black badge shaped like a closed eye. Tessa looked down at the image. Her face tightened. There is a girl beside you. Her name is Era. How do you know? You told me last night. I did not. She looked away for one breath. When she looked back, confusion returned. Why is there an empty space in the picture? The photograph did not change. Tessa's mind did. I wrote one sentence in her notebook. When you forget Era, trust the photograph. Tessa read it twice. I dislike instructions written by me when I do not remember writing them. That makes 2 of you. We went to the Academy archive before the Beast exhibition. Luma joined us because the image had been taken by her delayed plate and because mysteries attracted attention faster than expensive perfume. The archive clerk searched the student register. Northgate had enrolled 62,000 students during the previous 80 years. None had been named Era. We searched old club ledgers next. The black badge on her uniform had belonged to the First Chronicle Club, dissolved 12 years earlier after a darkroom fire. The fire had killed no one. That line appeared in every report. The club roster contained 38 numbered spaces and 37 names. The written names were clear, but the clerk could not describe a single person who owned one. Space 18 was blank. The clerk touched the empty line. A copying error. Why number an empty line? Tessa asked. Because it is empty. That was not my question. He read the page again. His eyes passed over space 18 without stopping. A moment later, he insisted there were only 37 spaces. Luma placed a ruler beside the page. The paper did not become shorter to help him. 3 archive assistants gathered around us. Each counted 38 lines. Each forgot the extra line within a minute. Tessa recorded all 3 attempts. We had witnesses, but witnesses who forgot were not very useful. The clock bell rang 9 times. My Beast exhibition contract began in half an hour. I spent 20 silver on 4 combat plates and 10 on ordinary film. With 2 unused plates from yesterday, I carried 6 combat plates. My purse fell from 48 silver and 6 copper to 18 silver and 6 copper. Tessa saw my face. You defeated a champion without blinking. The champion did not cost 5 silver per swing. The Beast exhibition occupied the western field. 900 students filled the temporary stands. Families from the town waited behind a safety wall. 4 trained monsters would display their abilities before senior combat teams defeated them. Luma's club needed 1 clear image of each creature. The contract paid 1 gold and 50 silver. The first creature was a glasswing moth. It scattered blue light over the field and surrendered after 1 wind spell. The second was an ember lizard. It spat 3 fireballs, missed all 3 targets, and burned its own sign. The audience applauded its honesty. The third was an iron wolf. It stood as tall as my chest. Dark plates covered its back. Its training chain was thick enough to hold a cart. A team of 4 students fought it using wooden weapons and blunt spells. I photographed the charge, the defense, and the final moment when the team leader struck the surrender seal on its collar. The wolf collapsed, alive but officially defeated. The cold voice returned. It told me that a defeated monster fully inside the frame could become a single weakened copy. The copy would keep 60% of the original strength and last 60 seconds. The camera had not gained a second power. It treated the defeated monster like an attack too large to fit inside one body. I loaded a crystal plate and focused on the wolf. Its outline turned silver. "Nico," Tessa said, "your lens is glowing." Luma raised her hand. Her club members turned their speaking crystals toward me. I pressed the shutter. The wolf remained on the ground. A charged photograph slid out of the camera. Iron wolf. Defeated strength, 550. Copy strength, 330. Duration, 60 seconds. 1 release. The silver text was clear enough for everyone near us to read. Luma's club went silent. The wolf handler checked the animal. "You did not harm it. I photographed it." "That answer was annoying yesterday," Tessa said. "It is worse today." The camera strap warmed around my wrist. Its charged capacity expanded from 3 images to 5. Capturing a creature required more space, and the class had made room. My practical power rose from 310 to 330. More important, I now had something a photograph of a spell could not provide: teeth. The 4th cage rolled into the field. Inside was a stone boar with tusks as long as my arms. Its official strength was 620. 4 locking pins held its gate closed. A red safety ribbon connected the pins. 3 pins were already loose. I saw the missing metal through my lens. So did Tessa. "Stop the exhibition," she told the field judge. Before he could answer, the last pin flew free. The gate fell. The stone boar hit the ground at full speed. The senior combat team had not entered yet. 2 handlers stood directly in its path. The crowd screamed and pushed toward the exits. 900 students moving at once looked like rice pouring from a broken sack. I loaded the Iron Wolf photograph. The distance from me to the boar was 40 steps. The camera could release a copy only inside the visible frame. I aimed at the open ground beside the handlers and pressed the shutter. Silver light tore across the dirt. The Iron Wolf appeared in a spray of black sparks. It was smaller than the original, but its growl stopped the boar for 1 second. 1 second was enough for the handlers to escape. The stands saw everything. The wolf slammed into the boar's shoulder. 330 points of force struck 620. The wolf lost. It flew across the field, rolled twice, and rose again because a summoned copy had no respect for broken ribs. A measuring crystal began counting down from 60 seconds. 58, 57. The senior team ran from the tunnel, but the fallen cage blocked them. The boar turned toward the family section. The temporary safety wall could resist 500 points. The boar had 620. I moved along the rail, keeping both monsters in frame. The wolf bit one rear leg. The boar dragged it like an angry metal bag. "Left gate," I shouted. Luma understood first. She ordered her club to drop the painted screens. A corridor opened between the cloth panels. The only clear path led away from the families and toward the empty preparation yard. The Iron Wolf released the leg and attacked from the other side. The boar followed it into the corridor. 41 seconds remained. The crowd did not run now. Hundreds of speaking crystals tracked us. The Academy message board displayed the live feed. The viewer count passed 2,000, then 4,000. Someone landed beside me. Jace wore his silver armor and red combat glove. "Move," he ordered. "I will kill it." His voice was loud enough for the recording crystals. He wanted a heroic image to replace yesterday's poster. His eyes were not on the boar. They were on my summoned wolf. I saw Holt in the judge's tower. His hand rested on the speaking crystal, and his face was pale. Northgate needed Jace restored before the royal selection. A public rescue would do it. Jace drew his sword. Red light gathered around the blade. The measuring crystal identified Red Comet at 380. "Do not hit the wolf," I said. "It is holding the boar away from the crowd." "A fake monster cannot give orders." I gave the order. He swung. The Red Comet flew past the boar and directly toward my wolf. If it destroyed the copy, the boar would reach the family wall before the combat team arrived. Jace was not trying to save people. He was trying to make sure I failed first. I used a second plate. The red crescent filled my frame. I pressed the shutter. The attack vanished. A new photograph appeared. Red Comet. Power, 380. One release. Every speaking crystal caught the silver letters. Jace stared at me. "You stole it. You aimed it." The audience began shouting. People in the family section pointed at Jace. The live replay showed the path of his attack as a red line. It ended on the wolf, not the boar. Holt ordered the replay removed. Tessa had already copied it to the newspaper channel. 30 seconds remained. The boar reached the preparation yard. The iron wolf was fading. The senior team still had to climb over the cage. I loaded Red Comet. Jace grabbed my wrist. "That is my technique." "Not anymore." I drove my shoulder into his chest. I was weaker, but he had not expected me to move toward him. His grip loosened. I aimed through the corridor. The boar lowered its head for a final charge. Behind it stood an empty manure wagon used by the handlers. A wooden ramp leaned against the wagon. I fired Red Comet at the ground in front of the boar. The blast did not wound it. It shattered the dirt and lifted the ramp. The stone boar ran up the rising wood. For one magnificent moment, 620 points of angry pork became airborne. Jace looked up. The boar landed beside him. One tusk caught the back of his armor and carried him straight into the manure wagon. The wagon rolled through the painted screens and stopped in front of the judge's tower. Jace rose slowly. Brown straw hung from his golden hair. The entire western field saw him. Then Luma's largest advertising crystal displayed the close view. The crowd made a sound I had previously heard only when a building collapsed. Even the stone boar paused to look. The senior team finally arrived. They struck the surrender seal with 3 coordinated blows. The boar fell with 9 seconds left on my wolf's timer. The silver wolf limped back to me. I touched its metal forehead. It dissolved into light, and its photograph turned gray. The copy was gone forever. It had saved 2 handlers, hundreds of families, and my remaining plates. Good trade. Tessa climbed over the rail. The 4th cage was opened deliberately. Jace dragged himself out of the wagon. He released that monster. You saw his camera create one. We also saw you aim at it, Luma said. Her club projected 3 images above the field. The first showed the cage before the exhibition. All 4 pins were present. The second showed Jace behind the cage during the glass-wing moth display. His red glove held 2 metal pins. The third showed his Red Comet aimed away from the boar. Luma had ordered delayed cameras placed around every set after yesterday's accident. Jace had been so focused on my lens that he had forgotten all the others. 900 students watched the images. More than 7,000 people watched the live channel. The safety judges stood around Jace. Holt came down from the tower. His face looked older than it had that morning. Jace made a serious error under pressure, he said. The locking pins may have fallen into his hand during the collision. One of the pins was visible between Jace's teeth because he had tried to hide it while climbing from the wagon. Tessa zoomed in. Holt closed his eyes. The field judge stripped Jace of his royal selection badge. His rank fell from 8th to 720. When the number changed on the giant board, the audience cheered louder than it had for his victories. Jace looked at Holt. You said one accident would fix everything. Holt's eyes snapped toward him. The speaking crystals caught that sentence too. It was not a confession, it was a crack. Holt ordered Jace confined to his dormitory and promised a formal hearing. He could delay the truth, but he could not make 900 witnesses unsee manure. The chief safety judge turned to me. Your summoned creature prevented mass injury. The Academy grants an emergency reward of 52 silver. Your beast photography contract is also complete. Luma handed me 1 gold and 50 silver. The safety judge added 52. After the morning purchase, my total became 2 gold, 20 silver, and 6 copper. The ranking crystal moved my name again. 1,208 became 410. The tournament board gave me a metal badge naming me Northgate's official junior chronicler. I still had no sword class. I now had permission to stand on any academy field and record any official match. That permission was worth more than a sword. Before leaving, I photographed the defeated stone boar with my 3rd special plate. Its copy held 372 power for 60 seconds. The nearby judges witnessed the result and stamped the image as legal evidence. My maximum stored force rose from 330 to 380 through Red Comet, though the attack was already spent. My camera now held 5 charged spaces. I had cataloged 2 monsters. I had money for 44 more plates if I chose starvation. More importantly, the Academy no longer called the camera fake. They called it dangerous. That evening, Tessa and I repaired the broken lock on my dormitory door. Someone had kicked it in while we were at the exhibition. Nothing had been taken. A warning had been carved into the desk. Stop developing the film. Tessa read the words and looked at me. Holt? Too direct for him. Jace? Too correctly spelled. We carried the damaged chair to the newspaper room and ate dinner on the floor. Tessa had bought fried dumplings from the market. Their thin skins were crisp at the edges and soft at the center. Pork, cabbage, and hot garlic juice filled my mouth with the first bite. She poured ginger broth into 2 cups. The steam smelled sharp and clean. I paid 8 silver for dinner. Tessa pushed the coins back. The newspaper sold 600 extra copies because of your wolf. This is a business expense. Does every business expense come with dumplings? A good newspaper protects its sources. A great newspaper adds sauce. She dipped 1 dumpling into red pepper oil and placed it on my plate. We worked while we ate. She copied every image onto 3 separate plates. I listed the camera's limits: 5 charged spaces, 5 silver per attempt, 1 use, no repeated technique, 60% strength for defeated monsters, 60 seconds of life. The rule remained simple. The consequences were growing. Tessa tied a strip of red thread around her wrist. If I forget Era, this reminds me to read my notes. What if you forget why the thread matters? Then you remind me. Her hand stayed in mine for 1 second longer than the knot required. No system voice commented. I was grateful. Some moments should remain human. Near midnight, I placed the photograph from our first dinner beneath a lamp. Era still stood between us. This time, she was no longer looking at the camera. She had turned toward the wall behind my chair. Her raised finger pointed at the warning carved into my desk. New silver letters appeared across the bottom of the photograph. Do not let Holt develop the film. Then another line formed beneath it. He burned us once already. At dawn, 4 of Northgate's strongest students fired their best techniques into my camera. 30 minutes later, Holt confiscated it and announced to the entire academy that it had never stored magic at all. The first event had been Tessa's idea. She woke me before sunrise with 4 permission forms. Luma waited with 4 students from the top 100. Each wanted a place in Tessa's report. Attention was a currency, and Luma understood it. We used the underground practice hall because its walls could survive 1,000 points of force. I had 3 blank plates left from the previous morning. I bought 2 more for 10 silver. My purse fell to 2 gold, 10 silver, and 6 copper. I captured Frost Chain at 360, Ember Spear at 420, and Thunder Cage at 510. Each technique vanished and became a warm photograph. The volunteers verified the silver text without making me waste a release. The 4th volunteer was a defensive mage. She raised Stone Wall, a barrier rated at 600. My shutter refused to move. It was not an attack. Luma picked up a practice launcher and fired a weak light bolt at the barrier. The moment the bolt struck, force rippled across the wall. Its outline turned silver inside my lens. I pressed the shutter. The stone wall disappeared, and a fourth charged photograph emerged. Stone wall. Defensive power. 600. One release. The camera could not capture a passive shield. It could capture protection while protection was actively fighting an attack. That was the day's first surprise. Tessa recorded the witnesses in numbers. My album now held Frost Chain, Ember Spear, Thunder Cage, Stone Wall, and the defeated Stone Boar. All 5 spaces were full. My strongest stored technique rose from 372 to 600. I had spent 10 silver to build a complete set of ice, fire, lightning, defense, and teeth. Then the practice hall doors opened. Holt entered with 12 Academy guards. "Nico," he said, "hand over Academy property." Tessa moved in front of me. The camera was assigned to him by formal judgment. As equipment for a chronicler, he altered it into an illegal combat relic. Holt held out his hand. Every guard carried a restraint staff. Refusing would let him replace the charge of fraud with armed rebellion. I gave him the camera and the album. He smiled for the first time since Jace entered the manure wagon. "You seem less confident without it," he said. "You needed 12 guards to collect a box." 2 volunteers laughed. Holt's smile died young. The guards marched me out. Message crystals already claimed I had forged the images and caused the beast accident. A public hearing would begin at noon. The notice appeared on every board before the investigation began. Holt was not searching for truth. He was printing a replacement. By noon, 3,012 students filled the arena. The newspaper channel showed 18,000 viewers. This time they did not cheer when I entered. They whispered. My name stood at rank 410 on the giant crystal. Jace's name stood at 720. He sat behind the witness's rail without armor. Someone had washed his hair several times. The result remained uncertain. Holt placed my camera and album on the evidence table. "I examined every image," he announced. "They are ordinary pictures marked with false numbers. I attempted to release their supposed power. Nothing happened." "The class belongs to Nico," the support judge said. "You are not a moment catcher." "There is no registered class with that name," Holt replied. The crowd murmured. Holt disliked the direction of the hearing. He raised a sealed report. "The Capital Class Registry recognizes no ability to transfer magic. It is impossible." "Then proving it should be safe," I said. "Return the evidence and test it against your best candidates," I said. The arena became silent. The viewer count jumped past 21,000. If Holt refused, everyone would ask why impossible photographs frightened him. He accepted. "3 candidates," he said. "1 match each. If you lose once, the camera will be destroyed and you will be expelled. If I win all 3, your relic will receive temporary recognition. No, if I win, the hearing examines who opened the beast cage and who ordered the public notice before evidence was tested." The crowd stamped its feet. Jace looked down. "Agreed," he said. The first candidate entered with a tower shield. He ranked 180 and weighed almost as much as Luma's advertising wall. He looked like a refrigerator that had developed anger problems. "A camera cannot stop a charge," he said. "Neither can a locked door, but people keep trying." The start bell rang. He lowered his glowing shield and charged with 520 power. At 6 steps, I fired Frost Chain around his boots. Blue chains burst from the lens. They wrapped both ankles and fixed them to the arena stone. His feet stopped. The rest of him rotated over the shield and landed outside the boundary. The bell declared my victory. The crowd stared, then laughed as the projector replayed his boots staying upright while the rest of him left. My Frost Chain photograph turned gray and burned. 1 victory, 1 permanent cost. The ranking crystal moved me from 410 to 230. Holt sent the second candidate before the audience became quiet. She was a fire mage ranked 92. Holt had promised to erase her brother's tuition debt if she won. I respected the motive. I still planned to win. "I will not aim for your head," she said. "Thank you. I use it for counting." The bell rang. She launched a burning wheel at 700. It expanded beyond my cracked lens, so I could not capture it. I released stone wall. 600 points of rock rose. The 700-point wheel cracked it in 3 seconds. I loaded Ember Spear while the wall melted. The photograph burned my fingers through the camera case. The stone wall collapsed. I dropped flat. The wheel removed some hair, which the crystal did not count as bodily damage. From the floor, I aimed beneath it. The Ember Spear struck the mage's scoring plate at 420. Her protection held, but the impact pushed her left foot across the boundary. The bell rang again. She looked at her boot outside the line, then at me. You won by 1 finger. The boundary does not measure dignity. She offered me a hand, then turned toward Holt. My brother's debt is still erased, she said into the arena crystal. That was the agreement. Holt's private deal was public. The Academy will honor it, he said. My rank rose from 230 to 112. The second victory had cost both Stonewall and Ember Spear. 2 charged photographs remained. The third candidate was not a student. 4 guards pushed in a black iron golem twice my height. Its registered power was 880. The crowd stopped laughing. The support judge objected, but Holt called it a fair final year test. If the golem broke my arms, he could call it an accident. Tessa lifted her speaking crystal. 26,000 witnesses, Holt. Then they will see a fair trial. The golem entered the arena. I had Thundercage at 510 and a stone boar copy at 372. Separate, neither could win. Every mage needed recovery time, but my photographs used no mana. Different images could be released one after another with no magical delay. The only delay was my hand. The bell rang. The golem punched stone spikes across the floor. I ran sideways and fired Thundercage. Lightning stopped it for 2 seconds. I threw the gray photograph away and loaded the stone boar image before Thundercage finished burning. The copy appeared behind the golem. The copy carried 60% strength, but nearly 1,000 pounds of weight. It charged the golem's locked knees. The golem fell forward. Its chest struck the arena floor. The tournament seal cracked, but did not break. The measuring crystal showed 120 points remaining. The golem pushed itself up with 1 arm. My album was empty. The boar had 48 seconds left and 1 broken tusk. I ran toward the golem while the crowd shouted for me to retreat. I had counted. The golem lifted its fist. I slid under the arm and struck the cracked tournament seal with the metal corner of my camera. The seal had 120 points. My strike carried 12. The stone boar hit the golem from behind at the same moment. The seal broke. The machine froze with its fist above my head. The third bell rang. They had watched a former last-place chronicler defeat a final-year golem using a camera, a weak monster, and subtraction. Then the arena shook. Students screamed my name. Support clubs threw gray ribbons onto the field. The live viewer count passed 30,000. The ranking crystal moved so fast that the numbers blurred. It stopped at 64. The class recognized the defeated golem, but I saved my last plate. Conservation was also strength. The cold voice spoke. I had cataloged 9 unique combat images. Moment Catcher evolved into Copy Mage. My charged capacity expanded from 5 photographs to 9. The rule remained unchanged. I simply had a larger album for powerful people's future mistakes. Holt descended to the field. The combat test is complete. Temporary recognition is granted. The hearing continues, Tessa said. The giant projector changed. It showed the first Chronicle Club roster, with 38 spaces and 37 names. Then Tessa displayed the plate we had found beneath it and developed away from Holt. The image showed the old dark room 12 years earlier. 38 students stood inside. Era stood in the center wearing the black eye badge. A much younger Holt stood at the door with a can of lamp oil in one hand and an official capital order in the other. Holt stared at the image and lost all color. That photograph is false. Then name the 37th student, Tessa said. There were 37. Name 1. Holt could not remember any of them. The projector enlarged the official order. Most of the writing had faded, but the final instruction remained visible. Destroy all images. Preserve Northgate's funding. Holt turned toward the judges. The Capitol inspector said the club had created forbidden records. If I refused, Northgate would lose its charter, thousands of students would be sent home. I burned an empty room. No one died. You burned their names, Tessa said. I saved the academy. He had traded 38 forgotten students for decades of funding and convinced himself the empty chairs proved nobody was harmed. Jace rose behind the witness rail. He also ordered yesterday's accident, he said. Holt turned on him. Be quiet. You promised my sponsor would keep paying my family's debt if I destroyed Nico's reputation. Then you blamed me alone. Jace faced the crowd. I loosened the cage. I aimed at the wolf. Holt ordered an accident. I chose to obey. The audience did not forgive him. They did believe him. The field judge removed Holt's tournament seal. The ranking board erased his authority mark in front of 30,000 viewers. Holt watched his life's work disappear. Then anger won. He tore a judge's staff from the table and aimed it at Tessa. You have no idea what the Capitol will do when that image spreads. White force gathered at 900 power. Judgment bolt. Tessa stood directly behind the projector. If she moved, the old photograph would be destroyed. I still had one blank plate. I stepped between them, lifted the cracked lens, and pressed the shutter. The judgment bolt vanished. A photograph split the skin of my palm. Judgment bolt. Power, 900. One release. Every crystal showed the number. Holt dropped the staff. Nico, he whispered, the Capitol will erase you. It should bring a wide lens. I aimed his attack at the empty judge's table before him. The white bolt shattered the table without touching him. The broken top flipped upward and launched him into the pile of rejected evidence bags. He landed with the singing kettle on his chest. The kettle began its only song. It was still bad. The arena laughed while the guards arrested him. Holt had sentenced me before 3,000 students. He lost his office before 10 times as many witnesses. The council confirmed my class, restored my scholarship, and paid 5 gold and 90 silver. I now owned 8 gold and 6 copper. My verified maximum power rose to 900. My rank stood at 64. The council granted me an auxiliary combat license and returned the camera as my personal relic. Strength, resources, status. All 3 had moved again. That evening, Tessa carried dinner to the roof of the newspaper building. We ate roasted riverfish with lemon, salt, and black pepper. The skin cracked under my fork, butter soaked into hot potatoes, and baked apples filled the cold air with cinnamon. Below us, presses hammered while my name glowed at rank 64. Tessa wrapped a clean strip of cloth around my cut palm. You stepped in front of 900 power, she said. I had 1 plate. That is not the comforting answer you think it is. I also had confidence. How much? About 6 copper. She laughed and rested her shoulder against mine. I did not move away. Jace was confined. Holt was in a cell, and the roof finally felt quiet. Then every lamp in Northgate turned white. A black carriage passed through the main gate. 12 riders followed it, each wearing the closed-eye badge from Era's uniform. The carriage stopped below our roof. A tall man stepped out. His coat carried the silver seal of the Imperial Archive. He looked up at me as if he had known exactly where I would be. The old photograph lay beside our dinner. Era's face vanished from it. The stranger climbed the roof stairs without hurry. Guards filled the doorway behind him. My name is Soren, he said. I am here to correct Northgate's memory. His eyes settled on my camera. Possession of an unregistered image of an erased person carries a capital sentence. Soren erased Era from every photograph by stepping onto the roof. He failed to erase the wet footprint she had left inside one image. Under the dinner lamp, Era's place looked white, but a dark mark remained beneath her shoe. Tessa saw it and tightened the red thread around her wrist. Soren waited beside our table while 12 archive riders blocked the stairs. He had a narrow face, gray eyes, and the relaxed posture of a man who had never heard the word no without someone disappearing afterward. You are Nico. Rank 64. 8 gold. 1 prohibited relic. You forgot the 6 copper. Tessa coughed into her hand. 2 guards looked away. Soren did not smile. Give me the camera, the old plate, and every copy. I will clear the charges against you. I will also place 100 gold in your name and register you at rank 1. 100 gold could buy a townhouse or 5 years of food. Why erase Era? I asked. That name has no legal owner. The photograph disagrees. Photographs do not think. They still keep evidence. His eyes moved to Tessa's speaking crystal. She had turned it on beneath the table. A red recording light reflected in his silver badge. Soren raised one finger. The crystal went silent. Tessa looked at her empty hand. Why are we on the roof? White light moved through her eyes. Soren had removed the previous minute. Tessa read the note tied to her wrist and switched on a second hidden crystal. That was rude, she said. For the first time, Soren's expression changed. Memory correction protects the Empire, he said. 12 years ago, the First Chronicle Club found a way to preserve forbidden classes after death. Those records could have restarted the War of Borrowed Gods. One copied army destroyed 3 provinces during that war. We removed 38 students to prevent millions of deaths. The archive erased people because it believed any fact could become a weapon. That made it more dangerous, not less. Era still exists, I said, only as contamination in images. By tomorrow, Northgate will be clean. The support judge climbed the stairs with an emergency charter. Northgate law requires a public audit before you seize a personal relic. Soren glanced toward the lights below. Students had gathered in every courtyard. News of the capital rioters had already spread. Then we will hold an audit at noon, he said. If Nico proves one erased person exists, I will suspend correction. If he fails, the camera and every contaminated witness belong to the Imperial Archive. Contaminated witness means me, Tessa said. It means anyone who remembers what should not exist. He left the roof. I tilted Era's white patch toward the lamp. The footprint returned. Memory magic changed what the mind accepted and bleached the surface, but deeper crystal layers kept the real light. The archive could command people to forget a face. It could not order yesterday's sunlight to change direction. We had less than 6 hours to prove it. Luma opened the arts club before sunrise. Some members remembered Era for seconds. All trusted her written orders. She placed the old plate into a red darkroom bath. Slowly, the white patch separated into layers. Era's outline returned beneath the damage. Behind her stood more pale figures. One member counted 37, forgot, and counted again. The same figures surrounded Era in every negative. We need a fresh group photograph, Tessa said. If they are still here, your camera may see them now. Soren will try to destroy it. Luma opened the club safe. Then we prepare for bad lighting. I spent 3 gold on one Imperial Crown plate rated for 12,000 power. It was too expensive to use for anything smaller than disaster. I spent 65 silver on red developing solvent and 35 silver on 7 standard combat plates. 4 gold left my purse in one morning. I went from 8 gold and 6 copper to 4 gold and 6 copper. My soul felt lighter because my purse was trying to float away. The 5 students who had witnessed Holt's trial volunteered new techniques for my album. I captured Flamehawk at 780, Ice Stare at 820, Lightning Net at 760, Wind Arrow at 690. Last came Golden Shell, an active barrier at 850. Each student consented. Each ability entered the album once. The camera had now cataloged 15 unique combat images. My copy mage capacity expanded from 9 charged photographs to 13. I had 5 attacks, 8 open spaces, 4 gold, and 6 copper. My official rank remained 64, but the Academy message board listed more than 90,000 people waiting for the audit. At noon, the arena was full. Soren's riders guarded every exit, and projection towers sent the audit to the capital. Tessa's viewer count began at 112,000. Soren entered in his silver coat. A tall warden followed him in white armor with no opening around the face. The armor looked like a walking cupboard built to store bad news. 37 empty chairs waited on the field. Soren expected them to support his case. The chief support judge opened the audit. Nico claims the Imperial Archive removed 38 Northgate students from memory. Inspector Soren claims no such students existed. Proof must be visible to independent witnesses. Memory is the witness, Soren said. No citizen recalls these people. No valid register contains them. The supposed image is damaged and can be altered. Then why did your presence damage it? Tessa asked. Because contaminated relics react to correction. Many teachers nodded. If Era never existed, nobody had allowed her destruction. I placed Luma's large camera in front of the 38 chairs. It held an ordinary plate treated with red solvent. My combat camera rested at my hip. I need every current tournament team behind the chairs, I said. More than 200 students crossed the field. Jace came last without armor. His rank remained 720. Some people booed him. He did not look away. Jace said, Holt used my debt. Soren used Holt's fear. I want to know who uses Soren. It was not an apology. It was useful. Luma arranged the rows. Tessa ordered every projection tower to focus on the developing tray. Soren watched without moving. I set the delayed shutter for 10 seconds and joined the group beside Tessa. The flash filled the arena. The plate dropped into red solvent. At first, it showed 200 students and 38 empty chairs. Then, pale hands appeared on the chair backs. Faces rose from the red liquid one by one. 37 students in old Northgate uniforms stood among us. Era stood directly behind me. Every erased student wore the closed-eye badge. Several had burned coats. The image passed 500,000 viewers as Capital Channels copied Tessa's feed. People saw Era. They forgot her. The image showed her again. Viewers wrote the same questions repeatedly. Who is the girl? Why did I forget her? Tessa placed one sentence across every projection. Trust the photograph. The image repeated truth faster than Soren could remove it. The ranking crystal rejected the archive seal for 1 second. 38 forgotten names flashed across its surface. Era was first. Soren finally moved. Destroy the plate, he ordered. The White Warden drew a mirror spear. His first step cracked the arena stone. I moved between him and the developing tray. The Warden's combat power was 2,100. My strongest photograph held 850. The crowd understood the difference. So did I. The Warden thrust. A silver attack shaped like a spear crossed the field at 1,200 power. It fit inside my frame. I used a standard plate and pressed the shutter. The mirror spear vanished. Its charged photograph struck the camera slot. The viewer count passed 700,000. Neither man had prepared for a registered archive technique to become my ammunition. I loaded Wind Arrow and fired at the Warden's helmet. His mirror armor reflected it toward the stands. I raised the camera, but the shutter locked. Wind Arrow had already been catalogued. A repeated capture did not work. I released Golden Shell between the arrow and the audience. The barrier stopped the reflected attack, then burned with its photograph. The Warden charged. I released Ice Stare under his leading foot. Blue steps rose at an angle. His boot landed higher than expected, and 2,000 points of armored confidence continued forward without permission. He stumbled but did not fall. I fired Lightning Net. It wrapped his joints. The armor reflected part of the electricity, yet the net held for 1 second. I released Flamehawk into the raised knee. The mirror plate cracked. The crowd counted. 5 student images were gone. Only Mirror Spear remained. The Warden tore free and swung the physical spear at my camera. I turned the lens away. The shaft hit my shoulder and threw me across the field. I kept both hands around the camera. The measuring crystal marked 1 injury. The Warden approached the tray. Tessa held up the old photograph while Luma raised a reflector pole. 1 million viewers watched them stay. I loaded Mirror Spear. The Warden saw the movement and turned his reflective chest toward me. If I fired directly, his armor would return it. I aimed at Luma's reflector instead. Left, I shouted. She understood. She tilted the polished metal. I fired. The spear changed direction and entered the cracked knee joint, behind the reflective plates. The white giant dropped to 1 knee. Jace and 20 support students threw ropes around his arms. The Warden could break every rope, but not before the chief judge placed a surrender seal on his helmet. The arena bell declared him defeated. 1,300,000 viewers saw me defeat him with his own spear and Luma's lighting equipment. The ranking crystal moved my name to 8. The audience shouted so loudly that the projection towers shook. 37 erased faces surrounded Soren on every screen. Students laughed when he demanded silence. His authority had not vanished. Its perfect image had cracked. He raised his right hand. White light gathered over the arena. Unlike the warden's spear, it made no sound. People near the field began forgetting why they had come. The measuring crystal marked 2,400 power. White silence. The spell aimed at the old and new photographs. I had one standard plate already loaded. The attack spread like a sheet. I climbed onto the projector base, but one corner remained outside my frame. Soren smiled. Luma swung a reflector screen upward. White silence bent just enough for the last corner to enter my view. I pressed the shutter. The entire arena went dark. White silence disappeared. A charged photograph slid out with smoking edges. White silence. Power, 2,400. One release. The plate held, but a crack showed it would survive only one release. Every projection tower showed Soren's spell in my hand. The crowd did not laugh now. It roared. The audit is complete, the chief judge announced. The erased students existed. Northgate suspends all archive correction until an imperial court reviews the evidence. Soren lowered his hand. There will be no court. Then 1 million witnesses will ask why. The largest newspaper channel offered 20 gold for exclusive publication rights to the group image and audit recording. Tessa made the contract state that the original belonged to us and could never be altered. I had spent 4 gold that morning. The payment raised my wealth from 4 gold and 6 copper to 24 gold and 6 copper. My strongest captured force rose from 900 to 2,400. My album capacity reached 13. My rank rose from 64 to 8. Strength, resources, status. I had earned less than Soren offered and gained more enemies. It was still the better price. The audit ended after sunset. We barricaded ourselves in my repaired dormitory because Soren's riders remained outside the academy gates. Luma brought a heavy pot from the kitchen. Beef had cooked in dark broth until it separated under the spoon. Carrots tasted sweet. Potatoes absorbed salt, pepper, and onion. We broke a warm loaf and dipped the crust into the thick sauce. Tessa poured strong tea with honey. Her hand shook only after she put the pot down. 1 million people saw Era, she said. I still forget her face when I look away. You remember that she matters. Because you remind me. Luma took the bowls and left to guard the darkroom. Tessa sat beside me on the floor. My shoulder had turned purple where I hit the arena. She touched the bruise carefully. You need a healer. The healer charges 2 gold. You have 24. That is 12 healers. You only have 1 shoulder. Then buying 12 would be wasteful. She leaned forward and kissed my cheek. My planning stopped for several seconds. That treatment was cheaper, she said. The effect is difficult to measure. Try harder. Someone knocked on the window. We were on the 3rd floor. Era stood outside in the reflection of the glass. When I turned, there was only darkness. When I looked through the camera, she returned. I raised the ordinary group photograph. The image had changed again. The 37 erased students now stood behind Soren. Era knelt at the center and pointed beneath the arena floor. A black circle burned through the paper under her finger. Silver words formed around it. The correction seal is under the academy. Then the floor moved. A pulse of white light spread from beneath Northgate. It passed through the dormitory walls and crossed Tessa's body. She looked at the speaking crystal in her hand. What is this? She asked. Outside, hundreds of students screamed. They had forgotten their own classes. The 5th day began 3 minutes after midnight, when 3,000 students forgot their own magic. My album remembered it for them. Lights died and barriers collapsed. A flying student fell into a hedge after forgetting why she was in the air. Tessa stared at her crystal until I gave her the emergency notebook. She read quickly and focused. Soren activated the seal, she said. Yes. Did I kiss you? That detail was not necessary for the emergency notes. Your face says I did. The academy alarm rang through a metal bell and a student with a hammer. Simple technology was having a good night. Before dinner, 8 top students had donated 12 plates. 8 carried fresh techniques, and 4 remained blank. None remembered casting them, but the photographs remained. Blazing Crown held 1,300 power. Deep Freeze held 1,250. Chain Lightning held 1,180. Fortress Dome held 1,400. Razor Wind held 1,050. Earth Fist held 1,100. Shadow Pin held 900. Sun Lance held 1,500. White Silence occupied the 9th space at 2,400. The students had forgotten their classes. Their magic had not escaped the paper. Once my camera captured a spell, memory and authority could not call it back. 9 photographs could not protect an academy forever. Every release would burn one. I also had the Black Imperial Crown Plate, rated for 12,000 power, and 4 normal blanks. I loaded Fortress Dome. The door exploded inward. 3 protected archive riders entered, and 1 fired a cutting line at Tessa. I fired Fortress Dome. Golden light filled the room and broke the attack. Tessa remembered how to operate her crystal after reading the 3rd page of her notes. She activated the newspaper channel. The live viewer count returned at 1,400,000. Northgate has lost its classes, she told them. The Imperial Archive has not. Nico's photographs are still active. We are going under the academy. 2 riders struck the dome. The 3rd reached through a gap and Luma hit him with the iron stew pot. The rider dropped his staff. My model class is gone, Luma said. My arms are not. Chain Lightning locked the other 2 suits. Tessa recorded them falling like expensive shelves. Fortress Dome cracked. I canceled it before it trapped us and watched the photograph burn. 2 charges were gone in the first minute. Students gathered. They had forgotten techniques, not Soren's attack. Tessa sent 1 instruction across every board. Bring lamps, bring rope, keep every camera active. Support students formed lines. Cooks carried pans. The Arts Club lit our path, and hundreds of lenses followed. Soren could erase memory. He could not erase 1 million live witnesses fast enough while controlling the seal. 6 riders blocked the ranking tower while students filled every balcony. Return to your rooms, he ordered. Nobody moved. Shadowpin fixed the captain to the stone when he raised his staff. Laughter came from every balcony. Earth Fist lifted the other 5 onto the dry fountain. Jace and the support students threw ropes around them. The rider captain shouted that touching an archive officer carried 10 years in prison. Opening a beast cage carried 5, Jace said. I am learning to collect sentences. The ropes pulled 5 riders into a bucket of blue paint in the fountain. The live audience watched their white uniforms change color. The Capitol message board filled with the same sentence. Trust the photograph. My rank on the tower moved from 8 to 4. I had spent Shadowpin and Earth Fist. 4 student techniques and White Silence remained. The entrance beneath the arena was hidden behind the ranking crystal. Era had pointed there in the photograph, but the stone showed no door. We needed Holt. Holt sat in the west cells. The pulse had taken his class memories, not 12 years of guilt. He saw Era for 5 seconds and admitted installing the seal. After 4 repeated questions, he drew the route before forgetting again. Soren said it would remove records, not people, he said. When the club vanished, he threatened Northgate's funding. I chose the school. Choosing again became easier every year. Where is the key? I asked. Inside my tournament seal. Holt looked at the open cell door. If I help, I still burn the dark room. Yes. You will not ask for forgiveness? No. Good. He came with us. The evidence room had been torn open. Soren's riders had taken the black key and left 2 archive hounds behind. The paper and bone creatures had document boxes for mouths. Each carried 1,600 power. My strongest remaining student technique was Sun Lance at 1,500. The first hound jumped. Razor Wind split its front armor. Jace blocked with an ordinary shield. He had forgotten sword skills, not where a shield belonged. The hound struck him and drove him into the wall. Luma aimed reflector lamps through the torn paper, revealing a black knot. I fired Sun Lance. 1,500 points entered through the damaged armor. The black knot burst. The hound fell at Jace's feet. 1,800,000 viewers watched my rank move from 4 to 2. The second hound circled behind Tessa. I raised the camera toward the defeated hound and used a blank plate. Archive hound. Defeated strength 1,600. Copy strength 960. Duration 60 seconds. 1 release. I released the silver copy between Tessa and the second creature. The hounds attacked like filing cabinets pushed down the same staircase. The weaker copy kept it busy while Holt pulled the black key from its collar. The copy dissolved after 60 seconds. The real hound remained standing, torn, and weak. 20 students dropped an iron cage over the weakened creature. Capitol viewers tied closed-eye ribbons around trash bins. Public jokes cut the archive's fear faster than swords. The key moved the ranking tower aside and revealed stairs. Each pulse below erased another name or year of training. Tessa touched my sleeve. "I know I trust you. I no longer remember why." I showed her the first note she had written about me. "He needs evidence, not volume." She read it and took my hand. "Then let us bring evidence." We went down. 38 black pillars surrounded a white circle in a chamber beneath the arena. Burned photographs covered them. Soren stood in the center. Riders guarded him while the masked first archivist watched through a Capitol mirror. The distant institution had finally looked back at me. "Northgate's correction is almost complete," Soren said. "When the seal finishes, no one will remember this chamber. Your viewers will see an empty broadcast and return to their lives." Tessa pointed her crystal at him. 2 million people are watching. 2 million memories are easy. The archive has corrected nations. The pillars carried names of cities I did not recognize. Entire places had vanished without complaints anyone remembered. Soren looked at me. "You could have accepted 100 gold. I have 24 and better company. You will have nothing." He ordered the riders forward. I released Deep Freeze. Deep Freeze dropped 3 riders. Blazing crowns surrounded the others and separated them from Soren. Jason Holt broke their shields with metal poles. The riders surrendered as students filled the chamber. Deep Freeze and Blazing Crown burned to ash. Only white silence remained. Soren placed both hands on the central seal. "You spent everything on guards." "Not everything." I loaded his white silence. His face changed. I aimed at the closed-eye badge on his chest and pressed the shutter. The spell erased Soren's current command without injuring him. "Why am I here?" he asked. 2 million viewers heard him. Soren read the orders inside his sleeve and remembered. Tessa replayed his confused question across every projector. Students laughed. The man who corrected nations needed written instructions for his own victory. Soren tore off the badge. "Enough." The correction seal opened. White light rose from the pillars. The last measuring crystal placed it at 10,000 power. The wave aimed at every class and record connected to Era. I had one chance. I loaded the Imperial crown plate. My cracked lens could not frame the wave. White light extended beyond every edge. Luma ran to the old projection mirrors. "Turn the outer 3 inward." Students moved 2 mirrors. Holt climbed a burning pillar to release the 3rd. The wave became a white column, but I still missed the top. Tessa lifted the newspaper projector and aimed its polished back into the beam. The last edge bent down. For one breath, all 10,000 points fit inside my frame. I pressed the shutter. The crown plate screamed. The camera pulled like a living animal. Its cracks spread, and blood ran from my fingers. Then the white light vanished. A black photograph slid into my palm. Grand correction. Power. 10,000. 1 release. The camera split along one side. The cold voice spoke. Copy Mage had captured a power able to alter an entire academy. My class evolved into Keeper of Images. Charged capacity increased from 13 photographs to 20. The rules remained 1 image, 1 release, no second chance. Soren stared at the black photograph. "If you use that, the archive will declare war on Northgate. You began with 3,000 children. I preserved the Empire. Then the Empire can watch." Tessa's broadcast count passed 3 million. I loaded Grand Correction into the broken camera. Soren ran toward me, looking like a tired man whose locked door had opened. I did not aim at his body. I aimed at the silver archive authority wrapped around his soul. The shutter fell. Grand Correction fired. White light blanked every badge, shattered his contracts, and removed his borrowed protection. He remained alive. He also remained ordinary. The ranking crystal above the arena asked for his identity. Soren gave his name. The Imperial Archive Registry answered through every projection tower. No such inspector exists. 3 million people heard it. Every projection tower repeated the answer. Students in Northgate pointed at the man who had threatened to erase them. In the capital, crowds gathered around archive offices and asked clerks to verify Soren's name. Each registry returned the same blank result. His riders heard strangers laugh at the authority they had feared all their lives. Soren tried to issue one final arrest order. The nearest rider asked to see his badge. When he showed the empty silver plate, the rider told him to step away from the restricted seal. The order was polite, official, and loud enough for the broadcast. His own institution denied him before Northgate's largest audience. The chamber erupted. Teachers rang the bell. Capital crowds demanded other erased names. Riders removed their badges. The first archivist's mirror went black. Soren fell to his knees before the 38 pillars. He touched one blank badge and laughed once without humor. "Now you understand," he said. "The archive does not protect its tools. Neither did you." The black pillars cracked. Memories returned across Northgate. Students remembered their classes. Tessa remembered every minute on the roof. The old club roster filled with 38 names, and Era appeared in every group image again. She did not step out of the photographs. Whatever the archive had done, she still existed only inside captured moments. Guards arrested Soren. Holt returned to his cell after treatment. Jace remained suspended and began repaying the handlers. No one received easy forgiveness. Everyone received a public record. At sunrise, the ranking board moved my name from 2 to 1. Students gathered below it and counted the climb aloud. 5 days earlier, my name had occupied the last line. Now support clubs, combat teams, town families, and even the handlers from the Beast Field watched the board confirm first place. No judge could call the change temporary. The public record carried every witness and every measuring result. The Academy Council awarded 100 gold for stopping Grand Correction. My total wealth became 124 gold and 6 copper. The national newspaper signed a contract paying 30 gold every week for verified images from my camera. My Keeper album held 20 spaces and no charged attack. I had spent everything to reach the top. Every future shutter would demand another decision. The final meal took place in the newspaper room. Luma roasted chicken with garlic and herbs until the skin turned gold. Tessa mixed hot noodles with butter, pepper, and soft eggs. Thick broth carried pieces of mushroom and green onion. Fresh bread waited beside honey tea. I ate 2 bowls before counting the cost. "The Academy paid," Tessa said. "Then I will eat a third." Luma raised her cup. "To the first-ranked school photographer, please stop destroying my reflectors. They improve under pressure. That is not how equipment works." She left to supervise the restored darkroom. Tessa sat beside me by the window. Morning light touched the red thread still tied around her wrist. "I remember kissing you now," she said. The effect was measurable. "How strong?" "More than 900, less than 10,000. "Coward." She took my bandaged hand. I let her keep it. For 1 warm minute, the Academy smelled of bread instead of smoke. Students laughed in the courtyard. The ranking board showed the 38 restored names beneath mine. Then Luma returned with a new group photograph. Her face was pale. The image showed the 3 of us at breakfast. Era stood behind my chair. The other 37 erased students filled the room around her. Beyond the window in the photograph, thousands of unknown people surrounded the distant imperial capital. Men, women, and children wore clothes from different centuries. None appeared in the real courtyard. Era held a black sign toward the camera. 5 days until the archive closes. Under the words, a final line developed. If it closes, everyone inside will be forgotten forever.